So we are back with Mr. Ron Toye, Ken Jennings, Cress, and Mr. Hop. We're going to jump straight into it.
This information that doesn't appear valid on some grounds, he then also sees someone who's being severely impacted by it. And, you know, as I was telling Crumb and Mr. Hop before you jumped on, I would not be surprised, and, you know, if Vic got into a very dark place. Yeah. And I mean, he's seeing a therapist and he was on medication by the time of the deposition, which is only a few months. Yeah. So I think Nick has his reasons for why he's upset by that, and why he feels the way he does, because in his eyes, you and Monica and everyone else could have pushed him to killing himself. And that's a really big deal. Yeah. And I don't like saying that lightly. So is his hate for you justified? I don't know. Right. He has his reasons, but to come back to it, you have, you know, you stated that, you know, Nick has said all this stuff and he's made statements, but I've watched on multiple occasions him say to leave you guys the fuck alone.
I could second that.
And it's been on more than one occasion. He wants you guys to be left alone. He doesn't want anyone to fuck with you. Right. And it appears to be sincere. And I don't think it's like don't fuck with him, but actually do. It's
giant wink.
Leave him alone. Yeah, it's not a giant wink from what I can tell.
Yep.
So he's only in control of him. How does he control everyone else?
And also from a broadcast perspective as well, for someone to actually say that during their broadcast and earnestly mean that has some weight really behind that as well. Yeah. Because the thing is, if people are pointing the fingers, get this person, blah, 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 that's a whole other ballpark. But the thing is, again, you can tell with his mannerism, his actual ways of communication, body language, and so forth, he generally means that. But at the same time, as the four of us once again have been saying, is that you could only control yourself. You can't control the actions or the movements of other people. Right. Plus, on top of that, to move forward in that aspect, if he doesn't say anything, he's just as bad as saying something. So I think in that aspect, Nick really, really meant what he said about that. And that's just what I'm saying.
And that's fair. But if you go back and look at his choice of merchandise that he sells, the clips that he puts up on his images, when he knows how Google Analytics, in a sense, works, and there's intention. There's a reason his thumbnails are in a sense political type cartoons to insinuate and insult people, and he's selling merchandise glorifying disabilities in others. So when you look at somebody from a professional aspect, if he's coming on as Nick Rekieta, not the lawyer who's law-splaining the interweb, just Nick Rekieta, cool. Use your infectious personality to be funny and rile me and say stupid shit about me. But as soon as you bring in the aspect that you are an attorney, then it's an automatic perceived like authority, kind of like a teacher, right? And this is where I process. Teachers have an authority that's or a judge or anybody, right? Or a licensed therapist or a licensed originator, whoever's licensed. So, and I'm not saying he doesn't have the right to do it, but if you look at the intent, if his intent was to try to represent his friend in an injustice, why destroy another person? Why?
Because in his eyes, you destroy Vic.
And also something I'd like to jump in here as well, just really, really quickly. I honestly cannot remember who said this in the beginning of January. But one of the few things I do honestly remember is that somebody somewhere said that if Vic apologized and Vic seeks canceling, Vic got help, a lot of this stuff would disappear.
Monica.
One of the
he jumped on that pretty quick, didn't he? Monica. Like, he threw her under the bus just like that then. Literally threw her under the bus. He did not care who said what.
Honestly, I can't remember. But however, the thing is, didn't Vic apologize?
Yes.
Didn't Vic seek therapy?
Yes.
The point he's on the medication moving forward? And the thing is that I really, from my perspective, didn't see this weeb war let up at all after that. So,
fair. Yeah, and that is fair to say that. But if you go back and look at like who was actually continuing to stoke the flames of the Weeb war, if you look at my 400 tweets or any of the tweets, most of them were replies to others who kept attacking and
of course. And one of the few things you said as well is that you didn't know how Twitter works, you basically getting a hand on the whole social media thing, so forth and so forth. And the thing is that from what I'm picking up on, mistakes are being made on all sides. But however, I believe the point behind all of this is to find a point where no one is actually going to hurt themselves or swallow a bullet or anything else stupid like that. And I think that's one of the few reasons why this broadcast and this conversation is moving forward. And the thing is, at the same time here, these are easy things to say, but it's difficult to move forward with. Now, here's another question for you. And then again, this is just from my own morbid curiosity for what it's worth. Have you called Nick?
Nick Rekieta? Oh, I believe I might have called and left him a voicemail on whatever was like a public voicemail.
Gotcha.
Whatever was registered online. So he might have.
Because what I'm sort of leaning towards something here. One of the few things I've learned on a very personal level as well is that if someone's making you out to be a monster, just do what's right. Do what's good. Because the thing is that before, as we've been saying this whole broadcast, we can't control the acts of other people. But if you're doing what you can in an earnest effort to move forward in a positive manner, you're head and shoulders above whatever meathead person could say about you. And I think that's very, very important to have solace in. And I think that's more important than anything else. So the thing is, the way I look at it is that, again, if people are saying you're X, Y, and Z, and you're going out and proving them wrong, that's it. And also, it's the best way how to work out stuff like that.
Yeah, that's where it's like I know I've failed in different spots. And at one point, I shared a picture of a swatting that I thought was valid by a person that says she's a voice actor. I can't even remember her name. And I actually issued an apology for sharing fake information. And I don't remember if I called or emailed or
the one who said it was them, they done this, but then the photos she actually posted were ones from 2016, not 2019. Yeah, we know the one you're on about, Ron. And you only came out afterwards because so many people said she's lying. And you're like, oh, no. You'd actually defended her at first, but then you realized, like, oh, shit,
text Vic to apologize because I said, hey, look, if I ever share anything that's fake, I will apologize.
Yeah.
And I did. And as you guys can probably tell, I literally will talk about anything people ask me, and it's because I like to be transparent. It makes my life easy. I can sleep easier. I don't have to remember shit. I just go. And whenever I do stuff that is out of line, call me out on that shit. And I have been aggressive and been an idiot and done stupid stuff.
Oh,
and
we know.
When I shared that, I owned up to that. And that's part of this whole thing. And the whole dichotomy of the situation is there is such a weird thing that got way out of line. We're talking millions of potential, like near $1 million for a disagreement.
A disagreement? How is it a disagreement? You, Sabat, Marchi, Monica, everyone, Funimation, Rooster Teeth, you name it. You all got rid of him, then you all jumped on it and you started poking the bear and saying, oh, he's this, he's that. Don't let him go near children, he's this. And you're saying that's a disagreement. Ron, wake up. That is not a disagreement.
That could have been done through a phone conversation. And this is the thing, Nick criticizes me for sending an email to his fan page that's run by his mother. I wanted to do it the right way. Send an email saying, hey, here's my information. Let's have a conversation. And for whatever reason, he decided not to engage. Way before the lawsuit started, this was in February, and that was his choice. But I would have loved the opportunity to kind of get on a level and just communicate and say, hey, this is where our truth lies. This is how the actions that have happened influenced other people and their perception. Cool, let's move on.
No, just no. First of all, you can see Chris and Mr. Hop there like, yeah, what the hell are you on about? Because we saw Vic send an email to Monica at the beginning of February, I believe, where he was asking her, what have I done wrong? What has happened? How can I make things right? Did Monica reply? No. She sent that email straight to HR for Sony. And Sony people were like, oh no, we're not going to discuss this with anyone. We'll speak with Vic and that's it. And they spoke with Vic and they said to Vic, no one will know what's going on. All of a sudden, Monica is tweeting, well, this has happened. They've told me. It's like, so you've literally gone and spoiled and actually gone against what your job is. And now with him saying, oh no, we wanted to. No.
But we didn't get that opportunity.
So there's one thing I do want to ask, and full disclosure, this is probably a better question for Monica than it is you.
Right.
But you're the one that I have here right now. So because you're going
Stop rocking back and forth, Ron. Ken is judging you by that, mate.
on the line of, if he just reached out and blah blah blah. There was, as far as I can remember, there was an email that Vic sent before all of this happened to Monica, asking her if he could talk, like what's going on, et cetera. Like, what happened with that situation?
She was told not to interact at that point. And I think that was in the part of the court record, is that they were instructed not to communicate with anyone in the investigation. And that's why she didn't communicate back with them. She was asked not to. I'm not fucking employed by those people, so I can do it whatever I want.
So at that point, then why didn't she reach out to him?
Because she was asked not to.
No, why didn't you reach out to him?
I did in February. That was in January, whenever it began to start happen. But then in February, when I reached out to him, I wanted to get this dialed in because I could see how crazily in the beginning, I figured it was this, that, and the other is going to be what it is. But then when I saw that it was getting this crazy onslaught of social media shit, I'm like, man, let me get on this ahead of time because I think there's miscommunication happening. Because I was seeing people like saying rape and this and that. I'm like, bro, like if I go to my work and I do this and I do this and I'm going to get terminated. That shit happens. Like you guys would never have seen that demonstration if Nick didn't release the video. But we knew behind the scenes stuff that had happened. And so it's like what he did was enough to get terminated or separated from their contract, but maybe not go to jail or court. So it's like when that's in the deposition, that's in all the paperwork where I said, I was like, this has been made into a mountain when it was a molehill in a sense, where I'm not making less of the people that were hurt by him. But I'm talking about the stuff that's in the lawsuit, right? That I know that I've touched and I've seen. This could have been something taken care of in a couple of conversations, ego being dropped on all sides, and just talk.
With all of that, Vic actually reached out and said he wanted to talk to people. He has just said Monica was told not to interact. Straight away, that's like, well, you're saying you wanted this to happen, but you knew that she couldn't speak to him. So did you come out and start saying, well, oh, yeah, well, we wanted this, but we can't? Is he trying to be the good guy now by saying this? Because he knew that Monica was not allowed to talk to him. He knew. And all of a sudden he's saying, oh, well, yeah, we could have done this, could have a couple of conversations. No, because you knew it was never going to happen. And with him saying that this could have all been sorted, blah, 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 this time or that time, the problem with all of this is as well now, which is what I've got, is that people like Monica, Jamie, all of these people literally days before everything was mentioned by Han Leia, you had Monica sending photos and everything else saying, I'm with Vic, we're having a great time, I love him, he's this, he's that. Then all of a sudden she's done a 180 on him. That's just crazy. And with people like that, they're not really your friend, which is sad. And another way to look at this, which is how I'm looking at this now, is I've been saying this for months as well, now for nearly a year. He was saying that behind the scenes, people knew. People knew what was going on. So, all those people who knew, doesn't matter if they're not a voice actor, if they're not in high positions or whatever, these companies, but they knew what was going on. They're accessories to those crimes, if these things did happen. They knew, and they allowed it to continue. That's where the wrong thing is, for me anyway, coming out of all this. And I'm like, if you knew and you let him get on with it, then you're as bad as him.
But unfortunately, a lawsuit happened. And then we had to stand our ground and do whatever it took, because settling, in a sense, would have not represented the situation correctly. And that's where it's like, we didn't lie. We stood our ground, and we believed what we believed. And he did what he did. And that's part of battle, right? I was willing to pay the consequences of my words in anything. If we lost, fuck it, I got to pay a bill. Cool, let's write a check. If I win, cool. But that's the part of knowing the responsibility as a licensed or an adult. And, you know, like, Ken, you described it pretty clearly on why it would be stupid for me to try to sue you, right? And that same, if we apply those same principles to this situation, how dare anybody take advantage of somebody emotional and say that this would make sense? Because if we apply your progression of thought to why it would be dumb for me to sue you, if we look at this objectively, apply those principles to this situation, what benefit would it have been to bring the lawsuit for Vic to try to sue us? You know what I mean? Like, applying the principle that you used, and it was brilliant. And I was going to reply, but I'm like, fuck, I'm just going to let this sit here because it's actual fact. Maybe I did reply, I don't remember, but
you did.
You spelled it out pretty clearly in your step-by-step instruction why it would be dumb for me to try to sue you. But in that same sense, if we apply it to Vic in the situation, would Vic win? You know what I mean? Like, just like if I try to sue you.
The reason it would apply differently is because the statements I made have not caused you irreparable harm. Right. They may be offensive, they may hurt your feelings, they may piss you off, but they haven't lost your job, they haven't impacted your income. Whereas from Vic's side, the statements made appeared to have been the catalyst for loss of conventions, loss of job, the investigation. All of that has a root that can be traced back to your tweets or Monica's tweets or everyone else's tweets in some form or fashion. That is where there's a line that can be drawn that says, well, because if I, post whatever about you, unless your employer comes to you, or unless it somehow gets to them and goes, well, this therapist online said this, and that, and Ron's not worthy, not capable of being employed here, we need to pull his license, then you probably have a better shot versus than just the way it's happened now. But I think from Vic's side, there's a way to trace back to the origins of his loss of employment and his irreparable harm back to you guys. Again, the validity that it's not the purpose.
But that's where it goes back to the TCPA stage. If it could be tracked to our specific statements, if you look at the history, and you correctly put that it was an opinion in your evaluation of why it would be futile for me to try to sue you. If somebody has years of videos online, years of certain things, how can it be a possibility to pinpoint that a tweet that had 2 or 3 likes was more impactful than the admittance of some level of something that needed to be apologized for, that came out before that anything that we had said, that has 10 or or 15,000 likes and 10,000 reshares. How can you say, and that's why if you look at the documents, it's in record. How was that ever going to get past the basic level of the lawsuit if this happened first? And that's what I'm saying is why I feel like he was taken advantage of. Because if you
there's two parts to that.
Just look at
two parts to that. If you look at that, so as I mentioned before, those years of accusations or whatever, they've never caused him loss of job, loss of income that's been measurable.
Right.
What happened in January, February, that caused a loss of it.
But what happened in January, February? That was
specific, the number of likes on one tweet.
No.
One specific statement.
What happened that was unique in January and February that didn't happen before? Because as you said, accusations hasn't caused him any loss. So what is unique?
Up to January, though, that's the thing.
You had Han Leia put a tweet out and then she had to rectify herself because she said she had it wrong. That's the tweet that got all of this started. Then Mars Girl, she jumped on it and she was like, oh, does there need to be a hashtag or something, kick Vic? And that's what it was. And it's gone from there.
So if I may, just briefly, before we get too far away from this point, I've wanted to ask two things. Two things I wanted to ask. One's more for Monica, but you could probably, because you're part of this conversation.
You said you'd come on the show if you asked.
Yeah, absolutely. Be happy to have her. We'd be happy to have her. But I understand she was busy this weekend, so that's okay. We can set something up for a future date. Yeah. So first one.
That'd be a great one to have.
Obviously,
I may even stay up for it.
Be happy for you to answer these after I've done asking them. So the first one would be all of the stuff that happened with say Funimation and the investigations, all of the evidence that the public has, all of the evidence that has been brought forward from both yourself and from other means. It shows that Monica was the one that brought forward all of the complaints that led to Vic's termination at Funimation. That was the first one. The second one was in terms of directly affecting like tangible loss. Wow. There was evidence brought forward, and I don't know, maybe you could confirm or deny it. Mm-hmm. Was that there was text messages to the owner of Kamehacon that resulted in a direct termination at that time, which eventually got rescinded. But the fact that, and you can say it's opinion, but like I can say that like Ken is an asshole, right? I can say that, and that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But I can't say that Ken is a felon or that there's going to be felony charges. That's right. Very different than than having an opinion. So, I wanted to hear your opinion on those.
Sure. And the thing is, again, looking at the situation, and like my text messages with Kamehacon, so if you look at the situation where there's some communication, there was a 10 or 11 day gap where he said he was going to send me some documentation on a sponsorship package and all the stuff, right? So in my opinion, he waits 11 days to show me anything. And then he says, oh, well, I was waiting on this and that. I'm like, with this and that, I'm done, right? I leave it at that. Mm-hmm. He continues to, and I say, with the Vic coming and this, I don't remember all the texts. I'm done.
You first started saying, oh, we may not be able to come because Vic is going to be there. Get rid of him and we'll come. Then it was the gap, and then it's when he was saying, oh, yeah, we may pull out sponsorship from next year if you continue to have him. That's what it was. And it's kind of sad to say, but Ron really should be looking at what he sends, because obviously in the heat of the moment, you're going to be sending tons of stuff and you may be like, oh, did I actually send that? Like, oh, yeah, I must have then. But again, that's going back to him being his, I do not recall.
That is my right as in right to association, my right as somebody who's there to say why I'm not going to do something, right?
Well, and that's totally fine. I think that what the thing that was at issue for the lawsuit perspective of things was that you had stated in the text message, from what I can recall, I'm sure somebody on the internet can corroborate it or pull it up, but basically you stated on the text message that charges are coming. Now, did you get that information from somebody?
I don't know if I said the word charges.
No, you did. You said Vic's going to get charged. That's what you said.
Coming, but I think
I can second that. That statement was made.
Okay,
in the
well,
messages.
I have the record. We'll have to pull it up. So I'm not going to say if anything about charges, but I know I mentioned about investigations, like legal investigation, because there is, like, I'm talking to lawyers, we're talking to this, there's an investigation going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might have mentioned people are coming forward, but whatever it is, that's still something that I'm allowed to say because it is an opinion. I don't know how all this is going to go. And it's a private conversation that I'm having with somebody who's egging on the conversation, asking questions, pointing towards it. And what's going to be very fun is when this is over, you know what? I would love it if it gets past anything, because we have audio of that motherfucker recorded conversations. So when this is all over, one way or the other, if it goes any further, guess what's coming out? His recorded phone calls. Because in Texas, you're allowed to record somebody as long as you know about it. It's one-party authorization. So Monica knew about it. So when Monica had a conversation with him, guess what's recorded? There's a reason we wanted to depose that little bastard. And so one way or the other, that shit's coming. And people are like, why don't you release it now? Well, we have a lawsuit online, but when the shit's over, it's going to be fun. So that situation, you're going to get to hear behind the scenes.
Right, so what we're going to do, we are going to leave it by here at the moment. Say it is getting juicy, but the camera's actually going to run out in a moment. So what we'll do, we're going to leave it by here. If you are new, please like and share your comments below. Send your opinion. Subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you all in the next video.